So, as we enter into the dream state, we also enter directly into the spiritual realm. So, what is happening in the spiritual realm is actually what will begin to manifest in the physical realm because everything happens first in the spiritual. And this is why it is very important to spend time analyzing our dreams because if something is happening in the dream states or in the spiritual realm, that we do not want to manifest in the physical realm, we then need to be taking steps and measures to block some of the negativity that is happening in the spiritual realm before it actually manifests in the physical realm. So, when we are dreaming of witchcraft, dreaming with witches, dreaming with demonic energies and dark forces, we have to understand that that is what is actually occurring in the spiritual state. Hello, beautiful people. It is Oshun Kimmy, your sage, your guru, your mystic, and your spiritual informant. And today we are talking about dreaming with witches, how witchcraft is performed in the dream state or in the spiritual realm. When we are sleeping, we are in the spiritual realm. So our dreams tell us directly of what witches, warlocks, sorcerers, and demonic and dark energies are doing to us in the spiritual world. Even though our dreams are heavily symbolic, there are certain things that do not lie in dreams, and that is energy. When you feel a nefarious energy, when you feel a dark energy, when you feel a dangerous or omen like energy, then trust your spirit and your intuition and know that something is occurring in the dream or spiritual state that is going to require your attention in the physical state. I am actually going to make Dreaming of Witchcraft an entire series because all the different ways that witchcraft can be performed in the dream or astral state cannot be covered in this one video. Let's get into our particular conversation for this episode, which is about how binds are initiated in the dream state. But today we're going to talk about specific dreams that indicate that someone or something is trying to bind you in the dream or spiritual state. These someones can be groups of people, as in a coven, as in secret societies and organizations. And these some things can be spiritual entities that actually do not or never have had a physical form. So when we are talking about spiritual attacks and spiritual sorcery, these types of things can be done by humans or by demonic entities or by both. So let's talk about a few dreams that could indicate that someone or something is binding you in the spirit. Before I talk about these dreams, there are a few things that I want to make clear when it comes to our spirit, which is one, that our spirit is extremely large and expansive. So the process of binding your spirit usually is a long term process. As in, this could be something that has been occurring since you were a child, especially if you have spiritual gifts. Please know that if you have spiritual gifts, there are spiritual forces that know you have these gifts, even sometimes before you know that you have these gifts. And so, in the cases of people who are very spiritually gifted or who are due to come into large spiritual inheritances, you may experience a lot of spiritual attacks, specifically in the dream state. The second thing that I want to say about our spirit, since our spirit is so large and expansive, spiritual binding process will usually only take bits and pieces of your spirit at a time. You may have experienced a spiritual bind in your dream, but you wake up feeling totally fine. You may not feel that you are missing anything initially. And so, the third thing I want to say about this spiritual binding process is that usually they will bind the parts of your spirit that are most powerful and most crucial to your overall prophecy or destiny. So, let's say that you were meant to come into a particular spiritual gift or spiritual awareness by the time that you were a certain age. Usually, within a couple of years that you are meant to approach that age, or to approach or receive that spiritual inheritance, spiritual forces will begin binding parts of your spirit in order to cause obstructions to you reaching that particular level of spiritual awareness. And all of this is done for the purpose of soul fragmentation. Because if we can wield, embody, and tap into the full extent of our spirit, then we will be so extremely powerful. And this power would be threatening to a lot of these covens, to a lot of the powers that be. So, here are three dreams that indicate that someone is trying to bind your spirit in the dream state. Number one, having dreams of running, being chased, or trying to escape places, especially if those places are like a labyrinth or a maze, especially if those places are significant places from your childhood, like your childhood home or your childhood school, and especially if those places are the homes of someone else that you know. If you find yourself regularly trapped in someone else's home, then that is your sign that they are trying to bind you to them. And if that place is a place from your childhood, then that is your sign that someone or something is trying to cause stagnation, delays, and denials in your life. Dream number two may be a bit more obvious, which is that if you are dreaming of being imprisoned, if you dream of having run ins with law enforcement, if you dream of being detained by law enforcement, then this could indicate that forces are working to bind you in the spirit world. And these dreams are particularly concerning if you never make it out of the prison or you never make it out of the maze. Dream number three is a bit less obvious than dream number two, which is that if you are dreaming of traffic jams or of having accidents while on the road where another vehicle has hemmed you in on both sides or has hit you head on, that is a sign that you are being spiritually binded and blocked by obstacles and by delays. When someone was trying to spiritually bind me, if you know my story, you already know who that is. I was dreaming of them blocking my car into a parking spot so that I could not leave a parking lot. So think about the symbolism that is here: being parked, being unable to leave, being unable to move forward. So anytime that you are dreaming about your vehicle and there is obstructions to your vehicle, then that is most definitely a sign of binds and delays, because our cars and our vehicles are symbolic of our forward movement, of our freedom, and of our mobility. I really do always love to give solutions. But when it comes to spiritual binds, it is very, very hard to give a general or universal solution for such an issue, because each bind is going to be different. You could be binded to different entities, you could be binded to different organizations. Like, the reason behind the bind is going to determine how best to break the bind. And then, of course, how the bind is being initiated is going to have implications on how the bind is broken as well. But I'm going to do my best to give some general tips of how I have been working to overcome spiritual binds in my own life. Like, yes, I talked about how expansive our spirits are and how sometimes our spirits can get binded and we're not even aware that certain parts have been binded. But if the attacks are regular and frequent enough, we will begin to feel those missing and fragmented parts of our spirits. And so, one of the main things that you need to do every day, especially when you wake up in the morning, is call back your spirit and actually sit and receive that calling back. My process of calling back in my spirit worked a lot with sound. I used my sound bowl where anytime I would call back in a particular element or energy of myself, I would hit my sound bowl. You can also use a bell if you want to ring a bell in the morning to call your spirit back in. And it will eventually get to the point where when your spirit hears that bell, it's going to come running back into you. So, of course, I am always open for consultations and for readings so that we could read specifically on your situation. Get in touch with your spirit guides and your ancestors and your angels to see whether you have any spiritual binds, who's doing them, and how to break them. The link for readings, consultations, and spiritual products will be pinned in the comments as well as in the description box of this video. Please let me know if this was even intelligible and coherent. because I know that this was a heavily mystic conversation. So I will see y'all on the next episode. Peace and blessings. Selah.